It is Life FM, the morning wake up. Bjorn and producer Tabs and special guest joining us, Joel Smallbone from For King and Country. No longer just a musician. No, now he's an actor. Welcome to the show, Joel. Nice to hear your voice again.
Bjorn, Tabs, what a pleasure. We were just talking off air about the fact that, in just a few short days for our Southern Hemispherian homecoming, you were our first stop.
Yeah, that's pretty lucky. Does that mean we're going to get the best show, or maybe one of the shows that's still got some teething issues as you work through everything?
It means you will get the most unexpected show, the freshest show. What is best, Bjorn? What is best?
I don't know. Do you want something that's more rehearsed, or do you want something that's got the excitement of the first time?
Anytime I go to a Coldplay show, I see Chris Martin sort of fumble something. I'm like, this is why I came to the show right here. So you might see some of that.
Oh, cool. Hey, well, we're really looking forward to that. And man, you got a lot going on at the moment. So you got obviously the tours happening, and then there's the movie as well, Unsung Hero. Have you considered releasing a book at the same time just to get the trio?
It's so funny, man. We've been telling our sort of family story with the band for years as kind of a pay it forward child advocacy moment. And so many people have come up and said, you should write a book. And we've always joked that we were homeschooled, so we don't read and write very well. So we'll do one better. We'll make a movie instead. And that's literally outrageously, after 4 years of prepping, that's what we've done. We've released this film, Unsung Hero, that sort of chronicles our mum and dad's and our sister Rebecca and James and our family story coming from Australia to the United States and all of the troubles and triumphs that we faced along the way. And Lionsgate just put it in cinemas across America. And man, Bjorn, it was the #2 movie in America a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
That's
How
awesome.
crazy is that?
Did you expect that at all, or was that totally just like a pinch yourself moment?
I think you always hope, but it's such an interesting time for music and movies, because you've got streamers in both, and you've got theaters, and you've got digital releases, and so you always hope, you always plan, but no, I think we were pretty sort of proud of the whole team for putting mums and miracles and family on the silver screen, and man, excited to bring it down your way and do the same thing.
You mentioned it took 4 years of preparation to get this film out there. What part of the preparation took the longest? Was it writing the script, or was it all the practical aspects of filming?
Well, so it was 2020 when Luke actually called a producer and said in Hollywood and said, "Hey, we've got this story that we've told for years, and kind of a family drama, if you will, adventure family drama. What about, just putting it into development?" And so we spent about 2 years, developing it. But a lot of scripts, Tabs, get put into development and never get made. And then we had carved out in 2020, we carved out 2 months. We said, we're not going to tour. We just released What Are We Waiting For, the record. We said, we're not going to tour this year. So we carved out the 4 and said, this is when we're going to make a movie. And then 2 months before we went into production, our funding got pulled. And so then we had to, and with music, you spend a lot of money, but with movies, it's millions of dollars.
Yeah.
So then we went and said, hey, would you sort of fund this film? And what was so cool is just to see so many great folks come out of the woodwork, both behind the camera and in front of the camera. You got Mel Gibson's, cinematographer or DP behind the camera, and you got John Locke from Lost, or DJ Tanner from Fuller House, or Lucas Black from Fast and Furious. You got all of these folks show up and say, and then Lionsgate putting it in theaters, showing up saying, we believe in these types of stories, and we want to put these out into the world. And so we finished that 2022, and then we spent about a year editing it, getting all the music and and then Lionsgate came on board, and we spent about the last 6 months promoting it. So it's just fascinating. We're all a bit tired, but we're excited to be coming home, because it just feels like, we'll get to breathe a little bit easier down there.
Well, the film is out on the 30th of this month, and we've got the preview screening on the 15th. But Was there ever a question as to who would play your dad, like between the brothers, or were you sort of automatically getting dibs on that?
Yeah, I missed that out, didn't I? For those of you again who don't know, I play our dad in the film, which I've jokingly, sort of with all the empathy in the world, said it was a very expensive therapy session because mum and dad are still with us, and yeah, man, the amount of empathy I do feel for him now is outrageous, and I ended up co-writing it and co-directing it. I never really planned on that part of it, but it's funny. The moment Luke brought the film, the idea to the table, I thought to myself, it'd be really interesting to play my dad in the film,
Mm.
and I don't know why, honestly, Bjorn. And in some ways, it was a massive oversimplification for the task of going, no, that would be fun. I've done some filming, and filmmaking in the past, and acting in the past. And so dropping into his shoes, though, was this really trippy multiverse because you got like, this is little boy Joel, but I'm Joel, but I'm dad. And this is my mum, but you have to kiss your mum, but it's not your mum. Like it sort of breaks your brain a little bit.
Did you have any say as to who got to play you? Because obviously, if you're playing your dad, and then I'm sure you're in the film too, so there'd be some kid who's being you, and you're like, "Hey, I was cooler looking than that," or
No, the tricky business about this was it's not really Luke's and my story. It's really mum and dad's story. It's our sister Rebecca and Jamie. We were so young at the time, Beyond when we moved, and so. We just had actually a lot of fun casting the sort of mini-me versions of Luke and me because they're just these sort of quippy, not annoying, but just sort of funny characters in the movie that don't really have a job other than to just be two kids in the movie. And so, yeah, it was sort of funny. That part was just sort of funny and fun and ridiculous. And we didn't want to take it too serious. There's nothing worse than making a movie about your own family that you just took way too seriously,
Speaking of taking things too seriously or trying to lighten it up, I often have a lot of fun mimicking my mum and all the mannerisms that I see her doing. Did you have a lot of fun thinking of all the things that you noticed your dad did growing up and reenacting the way he stands and the way he talks?
All the quips, all the little, his little sayings and his little sort of iterations of the way he'd carry himself were really what I played on. I started with sort of mimic, because he's a very particular guy. He sort of talks like this and he's got these very specific mannerisms, And then a producer friend of mine gave me a great note. He said, filmmaking is so much more about essence than it is about imitation. And that actually gave me the freedom to sort of go, all right, let me just focus on the heartbeat of what he was feeling. Because so much compounding failure, so much pride, so much insecurity in this time in his life. And so I just was able to focus more on that, honestly, than try and sort of, play a gimmicky version of him.
I remember a number of years ago, and I think it was actually the first time we spoke, and I met you was at a music festival. I think it was the first time, or maybe the second time you played in New Zealand, and you were just about to go and play at the Sydney Opera House afterwards, in the next few days. And we asked you a little bit about that, about coming home to Australia and doing that. And you sort of shared a bit about your family story, about how that was this real full circle moment, especially for your dad playing at that venue. And I remember thinking at the time, wow, what a cool story. This would make a great movie. And it's so cool to see that now that actually is exactly the case. And, I haven't seen the film yet, but I'm really excited to see it. And I want to put this out there and, you'll try and deny it, but Joel, you are famous, right? So you are a famous person. You're on stage. You're used to all of that. Do you get nervous or did you ever feel kind of a little bit of intimidation stepping into a new lane or field of kind of creativity and expression in terms of film outside of music, and then to be like, oh man, like I have to be vulnerable here. I know you've got some experience in this stuff too, but it's one thing to know what you're good at and where you kind of click and find yourself, and then to creatively step out and try something new. Do you feel the same nerves that everybody else would go through about being like, man, do I have what it takes to do this?
Well, it is. I mean, it's a good question, and filmmaking is a slower burn, obviously, than live show. Like the live show, the thing that's beautiful about the live show and terrifying is like, that's it. Like everyone's there. You've got to do something for 2 hours, or 3 hours. And if it doesn't work, you're just going to have to make do. Whereas with filmmaking, obviously you can call cut and you can reset. But I think the big one for me was, my family and I have I joke about homeschooling, but I've always said I have an unreasonable amount of confidence. Like it's not really warranted based on life experience, but it's funny how when you just sort of fill yourself into, you got to go, yeah, I could do that, right? Sure, I could play dad. Why not? And then you sort of find yourself in the situation, and at that point, you can't go back. So you sort of back yourself. I think I more had the approach of like, I'm going to back myself into these corners, and just see what happens. I will say this though. It's a testament to my brother Luke, who produced it, and the other producers, because they were terrified. They were like, this thing could all just be a joke. If Joel can't pull this off, this is just going to be a disaster, And fortunately, it seems like we've gotten out relatively unscathed. So I'm very grateful to be on this side of the conversation,
I do really want to know too. You made it to number 2 in America, which is a huge achievement. But who was number 1? Who held you from the top? What was the film that was blocking you?
Oh, it was Zendaya had a film out. It was the first week of her film called Challenges.
Right.
A tennis film. So, hey, the biggest female movie star in the world. So how about that?
Nothing to scoff at.
No worries.
Hey, well, we're really excited. We know we're going to let you go, but thanks so much for your time, Joel. And hey, you look like you're enjoying yourself in your lovely home and enjoying being there. And you're about to head off on the road for, I imagine, an extended period of time. We can't wait to see you down in New Zealand.
I'm literally getting off the plane and then coming to the premiere on the 15th. So I'll be a little road weary, but it'll be great.
Oh, you're at the premiere. We're excited to see you.
I'm going to be there.
We look forward to it. Hey, thanks so much again, man, and we'll see you soon.